Faith is very much like, all right, God, whatever you have planned is what we're going to strive towards.
Mm-hmm.
Even if right now I'm terrified of what's
Mm,
happening,
yeah.
we're just going to go with okie dokie. You have better plans than I could ever imagine.
Welcome to The Home and the Maker, sharing advice and encouragement about all topics homemaking and homesteading, and honoring the maker in all of it. Join Megan from Shine.fm for today's conversation. Sometimes you'll find that homesteaders have found ways to sell products from their homestead to bring in more income. And to me, that's nerve-wracking to think about running a business, but Josh and Brittany have been able to do this on their homestead in rural Montana. So I've invited them to share about how this has worked in their lives. From Tri-Peak Homestead, and then the name of their business is Tri-Peak Goods. Welcome, Josh and Brittany. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having us. We're excited to be here.
So let's back up to the call on your life. I saw this on your Instagram that you felt this call to be more self-sufficient. So back up to 2021. Tell me about this call that you felt on your life and the steps that you took to make that happen.
Okay, so in light of the events in 2020, we kind of started dipping our feet into homesteading and started with our backyard garden, and I started to learn to can and stuff. And from there, we kind of just felt God saying, like, it's time for bigger and to do things on a larger scale. We tried chickens and we looked up the codes for our city, and turns out we looked up for the ones for that town, but in Pennsylvania and not in Montana.
Oh,
And
Spelled the
so,
same and everything.
yeah, so we got all these chicks, made a little backyard coop, and our lovely neighbor called us in,
oh
and
no.
we were the last house on the block to be inside city limits. So we were like literally the last ones. And
Yeah.
anyway, so thankfully we knew somebody across the road who was in county, and they let us keep our chickens there. And so we kind of stepped a little bit more into it with doing that. And so then we just really felt like God was saying, like, it's time for you to go out. And so we were like, okay, well, how are we going to do this? Like, it's land is expensive. Land with houses is really expensive.
Yeah.
And, we have to have like certain accommodations because our business was going at that point and we
Mm,
had really started it at that point. And so I was like, we can't just like, technically we can pick anywhere, but it still has to have like certain things like power. We couldn't really go off grid because we have all of our tools that we have to use. So it'd be really hard to go solar right away, or at least nerve wracking for me.
Yeah.
So we finally decided, all right, like God keeps putting this on our heart. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to put the house up. So we watched our property in the meantime for like,
8 months.
yeah. And we call
wow.
periodically on this property. And the guy was like, nobody's interested.
No one
Nobody's
has
interested.
even looked at
Yeah.
it.
Oh
Don't
man.
worry about it. You've got it.
Yeah. And so we're like, okay. So our house, we finally get an offer in on our house and call him the next day. And he's like, yeah, I sold that place on Saturday. And we were like, what? You said nobody was interested. And he's like, yeah, guy just came with cash and was ready to go. And we were like, okay. So
Yeah.
we're like, all right, God, like now what? Like,
Yeah.
what are we supposed to do now? We're
eight
we're
months of watching that. Our house is under contract. We're like, oh, we have to leave here rather
Yeah.
soon, and we have nowhere to go.
So we got our camper and redid our camper and was like, all right, I guess we're just gonna go stay in a RV park for a while until we figure out, where God's going with us next. So then we did that. We rented a storage unit slash workshop together, and that's how we ran the business while we were waiting. And in the meantime, we like went to I don't even know how many properties throughout
Oh
Montana.
gosh.
Like we broadened our horizons as like how far away from the town we used to be in, where like my family was and whatnot. Like we were like, okay, well, I guess we can go a little bit farther. Let's see what's like a little bit farther. And anyways, we looked, and then
Everything was selling, or we'd be on the way to a place and we'd get a call, hey, it's sold.
Oh
yeah,
And I'm
man.
like, we're 45 minutes down the road. I guess we'll just turn around and go home.
yeah.
Wow.
So we then stumbled upon this place. It was in the afternoon on a
Friday,
Friday night, and we
like
called.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, we called the realtor. We're like, we want this place, and he's like, well, the people won't sell that place unless you go there.
No, first he said you're fifth in line.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And then he said, also, the people won't sell the place to somebody who hasn't been out there. And so we're like, all right, we're about an hour and a half away. We'll leave first thing in the morning and go out there. And so we drove out here first thing in the morning and gave him a call and was like, all right, we're going to take it. So from there, we got it.
Yeah, we were
It
the
was
only
pretty
people that
quick.
came out to see it, so
oh,
Yeah.
there
wow.
was no contest.
Yeah. And it was pretty
Okay.
quick because we were able to pay for it in cash for what
Yeah.
we sold our house because that was kind of our plan. So from there, we started building from
Yeah.
the ground up.
We
Got it.
moved out here. We ordered some
Mhm.
sheds. We got out here right after the first shed was put in, but we did all of our electrical work and all of our sewage work, like all of
Wow.
our stuff by ourselves. Her brother helped us by providing some of the equipment, but we did all the work. So, like, we put in our septic tank and all that stuff, and then we put in
Wow.
our electric, and then we prepped the ground ready for our sheds to come in. First shed got here, and we immediately filled it with all of the stuff from our storage unit, and was
Yeah.
like, "All right, cool, here we are." But then we were able to kind of start working a little bit with because we did run the electric, so we had power, and we were able to start doing some stuff. But it was still like we don't have any room really to do anything because all of our stuff is now in our one building.
Hmm.
And then our second building got here, and that got a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it was still just like, oh my goodness, you don't realize we got rid of so much stuff.
Mhm.
And it was still just like, how do we have this much
Yeah.
garbage?
Yeah.
Like, we got rid of so much. How is there still more?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Still
And all
feels like.
this time, you were still living in the camper.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
So our plan for the second shed that we had built was basically we were going to turn it into a tiny home.
mhm.
So we would stay in the camper and then we would turn it's actually what we're in right now. So we turned it into a kitchen. And so like the first goal was a kitchen area and whatnot so I could start canning and doing stuff and I make everything from scratch. So it's like really hard to do that in the camper. Yeah, it's like getting a real stove again was like, oh my gosh, I've missed this so much. So, that's kind of where we went with that, with the second shed. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So how far along are you now as far as like, are you living in the tiny home yet? Do you have that built yet?
Mm,
So we technically can live in here. We spend the majority of our time in the tiny home. We basically just sleep and shower in the camper currently. So we're actually in the process of building an addition onto it.
Okay.
So like when it gets really cold, because Montana loves to do that, it's like
that camper
the
just can't
camper
handle
just
it.
can't keep up.
It doesn't
Mhm.
matter how many heaters you've got in there, it is just cold.
So we actually have built a loft for the kids, and in the loft, the kids have like all their toys and stuff, but they also have two mattresses that they can pull down, and they'll sleep in on those. And then we actually have a bed down below the loft and whatnot. So this is technically a functioning tiny home. We just
Yeah. I
don't.
just don't have a shower.
Yeah, we just don't
Yeah.
That's
have
the
the shower in
only
here.
thing we don't have in here.
We could put the shower in here, but then we'd have to like rearrange a lot of things, and so we're just kind of waiting for us to finish the outside of the addition,
Mhm.
and then it's
Then we're golden.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing. So with this, we'll get into like the business side of things in a bit, but because you have such a unique circumstance with like the camper and these additions and the sheds, so tell me like some of the challenges of doing this, maybe a few challenges, but then a few joys of this
Mm.
process.
I think our biggest challenge is water because we don't
Mm,
have a well. We used to have to drive an hour and a half in either direction to get water.
wow.
So we have a flatbed. We'd put a 625-gallon tank on it, drive to one of those towns, fill it up, drive home, dump it in our bigger tanks.
Okay.
And that takes a lot of time. And if weather's bad, you can't get out.
Mm.
So you're sitting there going, well, we're out of water. We're in trouble. Now, thankfully, we have a neighbor about a mile down the road who we watch his place while he's gone, and he allows us to use his well, so I can drive 5 minutes and get water. But it's still like, if our schedules get busy, it's like, oh shoot, I forgot we're almost
Mm.
out of water, and then I have to take a day and go, all right, I need to get back up on the water stuff. I think that's our biggest one, other than like lines freezing.
Mm.
Yeah, there was definitely a learning curve with that. And we did get our water trucked in for a while, but that was really expensive. And so then when we had the opportunity to just get it down the road, we're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna cut out that expense. So that was a hard one. It was hard in the beginning. I feel like we probably would have had a much harder time making it if we didn't buy the second shed.
Okay.
Gosh.
Like there's just not an there's just we just didn't have anything
Yeah.
to store. And I mean, because the land was raw, they're just a raw piece. It was like whatever we brought in. So when you're really thinking about that, like how do I store these things? And you don't realize how much space you need to store just average things
Yeah.
until you get in there. So that was hard. Um and then yeah, just learning like the water situation and like the tanks, and then learning how to we wrapped the tanks in
Mylar.
mylar, but we
Mm.
also put heat tape under the mylar, and that actually did pretty good. But there's still some times that if we like
Mm-hmm.
a breaker would trip and we wouldn't notice it, and your whole tank of water is frozen.
Oh
And
man.
Or like,
yeah, so like
we've had a couple of the heat lines go bad
yeah,
and they melted. And
Oh.
one of them melted a hole into the spigot of our tank, and it started to overflow and then froze.
Oh
So
no.
we had probably, what, 20 feet of ice in any direction from the tank. And then there's this big giant ice block sitting right there.
yeah,
Oh my
And then I'm sitting there going, how am I going to fix this?
word.
yeah. So that those were
Those are
difficult.
few and far
Yeah.
between, but they are definitely the ones that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even ever think this was a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for a while we had to take either the sled and bucket down water to our animals.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So that wasn't fun in the winter. Then the next year we had the four-wheeler and the gorilla cart, and that helped. And
Mm-hmm.
then we actually ended up burying a big tank down there. So you can have like 1,000 gallons on hand down there, and that
Okay.
really helped. But like, so each year we kind of like looked and was like, what system can we not have run as terribly as it did
Yeah.
last year? And that's the one that we have to fix this year.
You're just leveling up from year to year.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, slowly but
Yeah,
surely.
for sure.
So, what are some of the biggest joys then that you've experienced? I mean, it's hard to, I'm sure, have these water problems or have other things to adjust to as you're living life kind of in a camper and in the shed and building things. But what are some of the joys that you've experienced in this?
I think just our kids being able to experience a lot of things that I don't think a lot of other children do.
Hmm.
Like they're very, very in tune with our animals. Most kids can't tell you, oh, yeah, I can get a cow to do what I want it to do
Mm.
by walking out there and just kind of pushing on it. Or like, we've been very fortunate. We've got dirt bikes for basically every kid,
Hmm.
or like a go kart. And we went out and we carved a little track out in the field.
Oh.
So they have a designated place to go and drive that. And it's just so much fun. And like when the kids get bored, if they ever say the words "I'm bored," I'm like, "Go outside and dig a hole." And I don't care that they go dig holes. It's just I got 20 acres. Go dig a hole,
Yeah,
man. I
there's
don't
space for
care.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think definitely the kids being able to experience that, even though it's not like picture perfect or, what you would see
Mhm.
on Pinterest and whatever, they still get that freedom
Mhm.
that I feel like was a lot harder to have when we lived in town.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I really like that they get to see like this circle of life and death.
Mm.
Um, like we've had several rounds of kittens, and we've had some puppies out here.
Yeah.
We have chicks all the time. We've had two baby calves, but then like we've also had to put down a horse and
Mm.
stuff like that. So it's like they are also very aware of what it takes to take care of the animals, and like very aware of the reality of you're probably going to outlive every single thing
Hmm.
that you've got out here. And they are aware, like they grieve in their own way, but it's also made them like stronger, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
And it's given them a really good sense of what the world actually is.
that's cool. Yeah. So, transitioning now to your business. You said you started this before you were kind of on your property. So what caused you to start this business? Like, where did that idea come from?
So we've always kind of wanted to, the plan was to find something to stick that we made. Because did a lot of like DIY kind
Hmm.
of stuff. And Josh was really
At the very beginning
into
of
making
this app.
into making knives and whatnot. And so that was always kind of the goal, is to make it where Josh could work from home.
Yeah.
Since we homeschool and all that, we thought that would really fit in well with our lives. And so Josh loves this story of how I asked him to build me a shoe shelf.
Mhm.
And
And I said, I don't know how to build
yeah.
a shoe rack.
And
And she said, figure it out.
Yeah, Google it.
yeah. Google and YouTube. That's what they're there for. So that kind of like started his woodworking journey. And
Okay.
at first he wasn't like too into it, but then he
I just
got
was
into it.
confused by it.
Yeah. And so that, and then he liked to make knives. And so we kind of like did this teeter-totter thing of what exactly we were going to do with that. And so we kind of just did it on the side. And then my best friend, this was in, I believe, 2020. Was it 2019? I think it was
The egg
2020.
holders?
Yeah. She asked me to, hey, can you make me an egg holder? I'm getting chickens and I want an egg holder that I can sit out on the counter
Yeah.
and have my eggs on the counter. And I was like, okay. So I showed Josh. I was like, this is kind of, here's some different ideas that she wanted.
She was like, here's some designs I've seen. And I went, I hate every single one of those. They are horrible.
So a few prototypes later, Josh made her these stackable egg holders, and so then they're like, she's like, you should put it on your Etsy, and I was like, meh, we have it, but there's not a lot that's happened with it. It's so hit and miss.
Yeah.
She's like, no, like you should totally do it, and I was like, yeah, because I kind of put it off. Well, then they had a friend who wanted some, so I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I'll just put it on the Etsy, and they can just order it from there. Well, I put it on the Etsy, and then like next thing I know, I got an order, and then we got another order, and then like it
Wow.
just like started coming in, and I was like, "What is
And
this?"
it was nonstop from then on.
Yeah, and
Wow.
so we were like, "Okay, I guess egg holders it is." I mean, and I love chickens. I'm love them. I have so many, and I'm really passionate about all the different color eggs and
Yes.
all of that. So then we went not just from chickens, but then we went to quail, and then since moving out here, we had the ducks and geese and whatever. So we literally make an egg holder from quail all the way to goose eggs now.
That's
Um,
amazing.
but yeah, so it just kind of started like that. Then I told Josh, I was like, we need an egg basket slash harvest basket. So I was like,
And she showed me more
yeah.
designs. And I went, all of these suck. They're horrible.
So he made those, and we just kept riding the wave. When we ended on Etsy, we had over 6,200 sales, and we had
Wow.
4 best-selling products. And
Etsy's Choice bestsellers.
yeah, they were
Okay.
bestsellers, and then they were Etsy's picks on top of that. So that was
I think
pretty
we
cool.
had like 4.95 star reviews.
Yeah.
That's
So like
amazing.
we were right at that 5 stars.
Yeah.
And like we were just getting in orders, and every review
Yeah, it
was,
was.
these are awesome. It was really, really cool. But
Yeah.
then Etsy was like, we're gonna throw a wrench in this entire operation.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, that was.
They literally sent us an email saying, hey, we're holding 75% of your funds. And we said,
Ooh.
why? And they went, we're not going to tell you. And I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
I feel like this isn't legal, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they went, too bad, so sad. You are our basically employee. We can do what we want.
Oh.
And then one morning we woke up and she went to open up the store and she was like, babe, I can't get into the Etsy. I was like, what are you talking about? Did you forget the password? And she goes, no, it kicked me out. So I went and
Wow.
Googled it and our store was gone. Like, not just we couldn't sign in.
Just
If
like
I Googled,
erased.
yeah, just gone.
It's like they totally shut it down.
Oh
And
my
so I
goodness.
went and checked, and our email was, hey, we've shut your store down. Here's a list of reasons that it might be. We will not tell you which one it is.
What?
Yeah, and they're like, we're not going to restore it. I
We're
was
like,
like,
what can we do to get it back? And they were like, well, first off, you can pay us X amount of hundreds of dollars. And I said,
Oh,
you're holding my money. I'm not giving you a thing.
yeah.
yeah.
And so it was gone, just like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, which I think God kind of just let that go. And so from there, we were like, okay, I had started a Shopify, like our own website through Shopify years prior to that.
Yeah.
And
I
I just
never done
I just
anything
never
with
fully
it.
finished it. Like I literally just needed to basically say, yeah, this is great and put it live. And I didn't. And so when Etsy shut us down like that, I told Josh, I was like, well, guess it's good that I already started that Shopify. I know everything's already there. Like it imported all from Etsy, like all of our products. I didn't have to like rewrite all of that stuff, thankfully, for the
Nice.
descriptions and everything. So then from there we
Just started rocking like that.
starting,
There you
yeah.
go.
The difference with Shopify and Etsy is Etsy has that built-in search function.
Mm-hmm.
Shopify doesn't have that. Shopify is
Okay.
your own storefront, and unless they are in your store on your website, they're not going to see it. Now they've added some stuff where other Shopify owners can put your store like in the header of their stuff.
Okay.
Be like, hey, we support this store and yada yada yada. But driving traffic is so much harder on
Yeah.
Shopify. Um, they don't take nearly as much as what Etsy did for transaction and listing fees, but the trade-off is you don't have a user base that is
Right.
scrolling through and you might pop up. It's, hey guys, here's my site, please go check it out,
Right.
which is infinitely harder.
Huh.
Yeah.
So at this point, how much of your income or like a percentage is brought in by your business? Like, are you able to work from home now, or are you still kind of doing something on the side?
So technically,
It's all the
it's all
business.
the business. Yeah.
We
Okay.
just kind of branched out in
Yeah.
a
We
bunch
just
of
do a
different
bunch of different things that
things.
all kind of connect back to the business.
Mhm.
Okay.
Um, I stopped working because I was working as a cell phone salesman for Verizon,
Okay.
and I didn't like that because they wanted me to sell very shadily,
Hmm.
and I'm not doing that. So I quit that job to go be a 911 dispatcher, and they told me 7 weeks in, you don't have what this takes. You are far too emotional. You have to be cold, and that's not you. You
Huh.
are like basically they're like you're a marshmallow that feels too much. Thanks for the try. See you later.
Oh man.
Yeah,
So
so that's when we actually really took the
yeah,
business full
that's when we were
time.
like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you did a little bit of side jobs here
Yeah,
and there.
like I've substitute taught. I kind of worked at a gas station for a bit, but really,
Yeah,
this is what
this
we
has
do.
been
Yeah.
what, yeah, and that's kind of where it came into play. But when we sold the house, that we were going to use all the money from that we made from selling the house and put it into here so that our monthly payments were fairly low.
Mhm.
So we didn't really have, I mean, the shed payments were, which if I was to go back, I wouldn't put the sheds on payments. I would have just built them myself because they cost a lot of money, more money than it's worth.
Oh my gosh.
But that's kind of where we were at with that is like, okay, if we keep doing this full time, if we go out and we want to do these things, and obviously the bills are kind of going to go up with the animals that we want to get and whatnot. One way to keep it low would be having the camper and
Mhm.
the sheds and then just slowly building as we go.
Yeah.
So,
Gotcha. How much of your like resources that you use to make your products does any of that come from your homestead, or are you like sourcing the resources to make those things from outside?
Mm, for a
um,
long time, we got all of our wood from a local sawmill.
Okay.
So it was rough cut, so we'd still have to smooth it down and cut it to size. Uh, they went out of business, so we
Mm.
found another sawmill, not nearly as local,
Hmm.
but still decently close.
so that's who we get our stuff
Yeah,
from there, from him. and then we still mill it down. And so it's not from the homestead, but it is so sourced
Mhm.
from here in Montana,
Yeah.
which is what we've tried to do with a lot of our
Yeah.
stuffs, I
We do
guess.
our best to support other local people.
Yeah.
We do our best not to go to like big chain stores to get anything
Hmm.
or order offline. Like with the beeswax wraps that my wife makes, we wanted to have our bees do that, but then our bees left.
Oh no.
Like they survived the first winter and they were like, we're good. And then all of a sudden they were just gone.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, I guess we didn't have enough flowers for them or something. Uh,
Huh.
Yeah.
Eventually I'd like to try that again, but it's like a lot of the stuff we do is the cloth. Unless we start a textile factory, that's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so we just do our best to find local people to get as
Yeah.
many of our supplies from as possible.
Yeah. Was learning the aspects of like there's a lot of technicalities with running a business and taxes and I don't know, QuickBooks or whatever. Like was learning that difficult?
Mm, it
Uh,
like it's the hardest part is going what is a write off and what is not a write off.
Mm.
What can I actually say this is for the business and not have them go, are you sure? Like I can't buy a TV and be like, this is for the business.
Yeah.
They'd be like, no, no, it's not.
Gotcha.
But like all of our wood, we can write that off as a tax expense. Um,
I don't
like
think it's as scary
it's really not.
as it seems.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of resources out there that, you don't even necessarily have to pay for,
Yeah.
that you can get, a lot of that information and ideas and stuff on. So I think it seems daunting, but it's not as daunting
Yeah.
as it really is.
Gotcha.
So
That's cool. Okay, final question. So, what has the Lord been teaching you both as you not only raise your family, but manage the business and the homestead on top of that?
You go first.
I would say just having good routines,
Mm,
and it doesn't have to be from this time to this time necessarily, but just knowing what's happening throughout the day and having a plan through that, I think is one of the biggest things because it's really easy to kind of lose yourself in what's happening and kind of get stuck over here and be like, oh my gosh, I still have all of this other stuff I need to do. And then now I'm behind and now I have to stay up later and
yeah.
get this stuff done. So that I think for having the kid, like our kids are a large part in our business too. They help in a lot of things. And so I have really been thankful and felt like God kind of has allowed our kids to learn skills that they would not have probably learned if
Yeah.
we hadn't taken on the business and decided to do that. And a lot of faith. It's definitely
Mm-hmm.
a lot of faith and perseverance.
Yep. Um, and when she's talking about like just kind of floating through the day, that's me. I am very much the all right, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen, and I'll just roll with whatever life throws at me.
Uh,
Um, I have chaos piles, and I know where my tools are because I set them in that chaos pile, not because I
yes.
put them away. Um, but and it's really hitting me hard lately that I need to be more focused on like actually planning on what I'm doing
Hmm.
and being very intentional about it and not allowing myself to get frustrated over little things that don't
Ooh.
actually derail me. Because if I'm in the mode of doing something and anyone comes up to me and distracts me from that,
Hmm.
it immediately I'm like, what? I was in that, I was going. What do you need? It better be important.
Mm,
And I keep having to tell myself, I'm like, it is important. Everything they're coming with me is important. I need to chill out. I can get right back on task in a moment. It's not going to kill me to take 5 minutes to talk about something or
gotcha.
help them find something like that. So, and yeah, faith. Faith is very much like, all right, God, whatever you have planned is what we're going to strive towards.
Hmm.
Even if right now I'm terrified of what's
Mm,
happening,
yeah.
we're just going to go with okie dokie. You have better plans than I could ever imagine.
Yeah. That's good. Well, thank you both. Thank you, Josh and Brittany, for your time, for sharing about your homestead and all God's been doing and teaching you along the way. And excited to follow along. And if you're listening and you want to follow along with the homestead and the business, you can search and look at Tri-Peak Homestead on Instagram. You can find a link to their business there as well.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Home and the Maker podcast. And for other podcasts from Shine.fm, visit the Shine.fm podcast channel.